Hey guys, it's NateDunningFilms, back again for another video. A couple of weeks ago I asked you guys to send in your questions. I'm going to do a Q&A. So first of all, we're going to start out number one. Sahil, who I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I'm not even going to attempt the last name because I know I'm going to fuck it up. But Sahil says, are you single? And yes, I am. And, you know, I think it's one of those things where, you know, being single or you know, that's not really anybody's business on YouTube. Like, you know, there have been a couple of friends, family members that I've let come on to my YouTube videos. And in fact, looks like we'll get to a question here in a bit talking about that. But, you know, I don't know, like, even if I was seeing somebody or, you know, unless they were really involved into horror films, I just don't see any reason to kind of bring them on, you know. That's kind of getting a little on the personal side. And my YouTube channel is just me, you know, about horror films, about collecting movies and Blu-rays. So at the moment, yeah, I'm single. And again, even if, you know, I start seeing somebody, don't know if you'd ever really see them on the channel, but you never know. L'après scène, I could be wrong. All right, my friends, we did have a chat together on Instagram recently. We did, about Friday the 13th franchise. As you know, I'm a huge fan of it, and Sean Cunningham said that in 2023 a new movie is on, but until now it is unclear what it could be. So basically talking about, you know, a prequel to the films, a sequel to like Jason X or another reboot, and I think Kane will be behind the mask. So me personally, just like kind of my take for the Halloween series, I would just kind of pick it up. You know, at the end of Jason X, there was a Earth 2, and Jason, you know, kind of falls on Earth 2. You could maybe pick it up there. I almost just say, you know, throw Jason back in the woods, and start from there. You know, there doesn't really have to be any direct connection to the older films. We know the story, we know what's happened, we know the older films. Again, you just throw Jason in the abandoned camp of you know, all these teenagers in the woods, and you just play it off as a sequel. It could fit with any of the films in the franchise. It could be, you could think it was a sequel to the remake. Again, it could be a sequel to Jason X, because really they don't mention it, but it could be Earth 2. You could look at it as a sequel to 6 for all I care. But just kind of put Jason in the woods, some teenagers on drugs, and you kill them off. Same with Halloween. You know, I think a lot of people wanted to see like a Halloween 9, were a film that happened after Resurrection. Unfortunately, that's probably never going to happen, but I think with Halloween 2018, a way that they could have done it was you just picked it up. You know, it's now 2018, here's Michael Myers, he's got his mask, you know, you make up a story, there's no real direct continuation, there's no storyline that connects the original films, but it still could be part of that franchise. In a sense, I guess you could say what I'm saying is a reboot, you know. Do I think Kane Hodder will return? I want to say, because I'm a big Kane Hodder fan, obviously, he's actually not my favorite Jason. My favorite Jason is C.J. Graham from Part 6. Also my favorite film in the franchise. But I don't think he's going to be in another Jason film. And that's not my opinion. I think that's what the studios are going to do. I think the studios are going to go with somebody else. I would love to have Kane Hodder back. And the second question here, I remember you were doing videos with your sister. I was wondering, what has she become? Is she okay? You know, what about her YouTube channel? I don't remember the name of it. Before your old YouTube got canceled, you were doing videos together. And that was very cool and fun. Will it be possible to be back with her again? Here's the thing, you know, again, and again, we'll talk about this. There's another question here that I can see. This is not my first YouTube channel. YouTube did remove my channel back in 2017. And so I go back, you know, over a decade of doing YouTube. And for a good year or so, my sister was appearing in these videos. And unfortunately, I guess fortunately at the time, you know, we were teenagers. None of us worked. She went to school, you know. She was just a basic high school girl. I was not working at the time, so I had all the time in the world to do this kind of stuff. And now that, you know, it's 6 years later, you know, we're all adults. She has a family. She lives about an hour away. So it's not very easy to meet up. In fact, this entire year of 2022, I've talked to her once, you know, through Facebook Messenger. So I don't think she'll ever reappear in a video. You know, we still talk, but the extent, you know, not so much. We don't really see each other face to face. No. Again, she just lives too far. You know, life happens. I'm an adult now. You know, I work, she works. Again, she's got a family. So I don't think that's ever going to happen. Muggs805 says, what do you think of the last 2 TV spots? And that is the question. And Muggs, you did not kind of specify what movie. I'm going to assume you mean Halloween Ends. And I think they look great. You know, a lot of people are picking out these like little 5-second TV spots and are spotting 25 things to talk about it. And I think that's great. I personally, from what I've seen so far with the trailers, I think that this could possibly be the best of the trilogy. We'll have to see, but just what I've seen with the just the kind of the footage and the, I love the stalking POVs that they have, you know, so far in this. It looks like it goes back to the classic Halloween films, you know. So I don't know, you know, I enjoyed Halloween 2018. It's so far my favorite of the 2 that have been released so far. I liked Halloween Kills. I've seen it twice in the theater, so, you know, of course I own it on Blu-ray and whatnot. So I've seen it, you know, but I enjoyed it too. Not my favorite one, but I do think that Halloween Ends will actually be the best of this trilogy. We'll see. It could be one of the better sequels. You never know. And Skirmos asks, can you upload the old reviews? I liked that very much as a teen back in 2009. And again, this goes back to the fact that this is not my first YouTube channel. My videos got flagged, or, you know, something happened where they violated the community guidelines. And I've actually already have a video that has violated the community guidelines that has been age restricted. If I ever get monetization, I can't monetize it. It's got very low views. I don't know if anybody's even ever seen this. It was one of my older videos, but it's videos like that that originally got me removed from YouTube that, as you can see, are already causing a problem. But given that it's not like I chose to leave YouTube, you know, one day you log into your YouTube account and it says the account is banned, you know, terminated for community guideline strikes. And so I don't have much, you know. I mean, I think I did a reaction video to 2 of my older videos, and I think I mentioned it in there. Of my old reviews and videos and whatnot, I have maybe 6 or 7, and I've already reacted to 2 of them. So they, in a way, those are kind of uploaded. You could see them in, you know, in the top corner. So in the sense, you've seen 2 out of the 6. You know, you've seen a third of the videos. I was not expecting, you know, to get my account removed. So a lot of that stuff, once it was gone, it was gone. Again, I have about 6 or 7 videos, and that's about it. So to get a lot of that stuff back, it's never going to happen. It's gone. It's the unfortunate thing, but, you know, no, unfortunately, I can't get that stuff back. What I do have, you know, isn't really worthy to actually upload. The 2 that I did my reaction video to were the 2 best ones. That's why I did a reaction video to them. Resident of Collingwood, what's your top 5 kills in the Halloween franchise? And this is a hard one because there's just so many great kills, you know, especially to think right off the top of my head 5. My number 1 kill would be John Strode in Halloween 6, in the theatrical cut, when Michael Myers puts him on the electrical box and his head explodes. Easily, probably my favorite kill of the franchise. If I had to maybe name like a runner-up, I would say the impalement scene from Halloween 5 in the barn with Spitz and Sammy. You know, kind of had like a Jason Voorhees-esque kill right there. You know, he could have just double impaled him, but, you know, he had to have a little fun with Sammy. So, again, right off the top, I probably couldn't give you my 5. I could give you 2 or 3. So I would have to really think on that. But yeah, those are at least my favorite, and probably my second favorite follow-up. Cool Manable asks, will you ever do a movie review again? of course, the new Halloween movie. Also, what is your favorite horror film from the past 5 years? I will probably do a review for Halloween Ends. I won't doubt that. That's like the most anticipated movie for this year for me. I've seen plenty of other movies in the theaters, in the cinema. You know, I've seen plenty on Blu-ray streaming on Netflix. So it's not like, you know, I don't watch movies, but it's definitely true that I don't do a lot of movie reviews anymore. For Halloween Ends, I can pretty much guarantee you that I will do some kind of reaction or a complete review to it. Yes, you will definitely see movie reviews in general in the future, especially for Halloween Ends. And again, what is your top 5 favorite horror film from the past 5 years? And again, thinking right off the top of my head, I mean, there's just so many, you know, that I've seen. I mean, just a lot of like mainstream stuff comes to mind. A lot of indie stuff comes to mind. There was this indie film called Scarehouse, which I thought was actually really good. You know, I'm always a little more interested in the indie side of horror films, so I always like to give it, you know, a little more recognition to indie horror filmmakers, indie horror films. But Scarehouse comes, you know, it's kind of like one of those revenge tales, and it's actually really good. So check that one out. That's Scarehouse. And this is the very last person to send in questions, but I have 20 questions in total. So Brandon DeVore, thank you very much for all these questions. This will be, again, the last set. But first of all, number 1, what are your thoughts on the future of the Halloween franchise? Do you think they're going back to the original movies 1 through 8? Again, I don't think that's ever going to happen, unfortunately. They kind of missed that opportunity to do so. At this point, they've started a whole new trilogy, a whole new timeline to kind of go back to what was already done. You know, I would love for them to do it, but I don't think they're going to. They're definitely going to continue on. As of right now, no, I do not think like the next Halloween film after Ends is going to be like Halloween 9. No, actually, I really don't. What do you think of Marvel and DC? And you're going to be shocked by this. I'm surrounded by movies, you know. I consider myself a film fan, but I'm going to assume you're talking of the films. And I don't follow superhero films. You know, in fact, my favorite superhero film is Kick-Ass. You know, which I don't remember. It is based on a comic that was under either, I think it was Marvel. I could be wrong. I don't think it was DC, but I think Kick-Ass was under like a sub-label of Marvel. So again, I don't read comic books. I don't watch I don't keep up with Captain America and all that kind of stuff. And 3, ever been in a relationship before? Of course. 3 or 4 real like 6-month or more relationships. I have not been in a relationship since 2019. That was the last time, and I haven't really been back since. I've really just focused on life. I've taken, you know, many trips and I've really tried to focus on myself. And number 4, do you like cats? Domestic and wild doesn't matter. You know, I'm not really a dog or a cat person. If I had to choose between the two, I'd probably choose cats. You know, cats kind of just do their own thing. They sit on the other side of the room, stare you down, but they kind of leave you alone. And I kind of like that, because I'm kind of the same way, you know. So if I had to choose, I'd choose a cat. But again, I'm more of a reptile guy. I have snakes and leopard geckos and frogs. I'm more of a reptile, amphibian, you know, turtle kind of guy. Number 5, would you be down to see an actual Michael versus Jason feature film? Yes, I would. And it's funny because some of the first things I ever did, actually the first thing I ever uploaded to YouTube was a fan film I did, Halloween, the Death of Michael Myers. Followed that up with a sequel, Halloween Retribution. And after that, we were going to do a Michael versus Jason film. I had the script written and everything. And a couple of years ago, I found the script. I really did write it up, print it out, you know, stapled it together. I had a script. So I personally would love to like be a part of any kind of fan film, or even if it was a mainstream real film in the franchise. So yes, I would love some kind of Michael versus Jason feature film. Whether it's a fan film, you know, or whether it's something within the franchise, I'd love to see that. I am personally not a fan of Freddy versus Jason. I thought it was a okay effort, but putting Freddy Krueger who talks and throws one-liners out, and Jason who just stands there. You know, Freddy's funny. He's not scary. He's funny. And you got a scary guy. And it just didn't work. But you got two scary guys that don't talk and do anything. I think that's going to be a little more scarier. Plus, of course, I'm a Michael Myers guy. So, you know, anytime I can see a Halloween movie or Michael Myers, you know, Mike is my guy. Number 6, do you think it's possible that Robert Englund could return as Freddy one day for one last film? He's, you know, there's been rumor pretty much every year that he's coming back to the franchise, that another Nightmare on Elm Street film is starting. And he has voiced his opinion that maybe, you know, he would like to come back, but he did one little guest spot on a television show a couple of years ago. He has done things in costume. I think that's what he means. You know, he would get back in the makeup and do something, again, like a guest spot or a horror convention, a photo opportunity, which he's done. Do I think he's going to be, you know, in another Nightmare on Elm Street? Unfortunately not. I'd love him to be, because I think the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise is one of those where it's Robert Englund or you don't have Freddy Krueger. You don't have a Nightmare on Elm Street. I personally believe once he's gone, leave the character to rest. And if he's not coming back, just stop. Because I don't think anybody can fill those shoes. I really don't. Number 7, are you into rock and metal music? Ever heard of metalcore? It's a blend of screams mixed with clean singing. I have heard of metalcore. I am not into metalcore. And, you know, I just recently went to Cleveland, Ohio, home of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I toured it. Great museum. I just want to say that. Really loved it. I love rock and roll. I love metal music. I listen to everything from, you know, 1950s rock and roll, Elvis type stuff, all the way up to Slayer. I like it all. Rock and metal, you know, and everything in between. Metalcore, again, in particular, I've heard of it. I'm sure I've heard something. Am I into it? Not really. Number 8, vampires or werewolves? Which do you enjoy more? I have to say werewolves. You know, one of my all-time favorite werewolf movies, Silver Bullet, which I believe was based on a Stephen King book. You know, I used to watch that on VHS tape growing up a lot. I never really got into vampires. You know, outside of like the original Dracula film, Fright Night was a really good one. Near Dark. Again, I'm talking films, but just in general, I think werewolf films I was a little more into. I watched a little bit more werewolf films. So if I had to choose, I'd probably say werewolves. Number 9, besides Michael Myers, who is your top favorite characters in the Halloween franchise, male and female? Well, of course, male right off the top, Donald Pleasance, Dr. Loomis. You know, I think as we've clearly seen that the franchise can continue on without Donald Pleasance. Dr. Loomis, sadly, he was the glue to the first 6 films. I don't think they would have been successful. I don't think 4 would have been successful as it was without Donald Pleasance. You know, if he did not return, if they did not bring the character back, I don't think we'd really even be talking about the Halloween franchise as we do today. And there might not even be any films. We might have got a different Halloween 4 without Dr. Loomis, and it might have just failed. You know, and we wouldn't really be talking about it as we are today. So Donald Pleasance, Dr. Loomis, without a doubt, is my favorite male character from the Halloween franchise. My favorite female character, I would have to say Jamie Lloyd. You know, a lot of people are going to think I'm going to say Laurie Strode, Jamie Lee Curtis, but I think Danielle Harris did not only a fantastic acting job, but especially in 4, performed very well. And not that, you know, she had a bad performance in 5. I think a lot of that has to do with the film. It's an okay film, but it had its, you know, it had its downsides. Danielle Harris was not one of those, but I think I prefer, not only as a film, but her performance in part 4. So I'm going to have to go with my favorite female character from the Halloween franchise is Jamie Lloyd. Thoughts on Halloween-themed movies like Hocus Pocus, Trick or Treat, Boo, Medea Halloween. You know, I like that kind of stuff. You know, I'm actually ready for Hocus Pocus 2. You know, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to watch it day one. I don't currently have Disney Plus. I've used it before. I've been subscribed. I think it's only $5 or $6 a month last time I checked. But when that movie does come out, I will be watching it day one. You know, I like the Hocus Pocus. That was a film that we had as growing up as a family on VHS tape. and we would watch it all year round. It was not just a Halloween film. So I grew up with it on tape. I now, of course, have the 4K. Looks amazing, looks and sounds amazing. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to Hocus Pocus 2. Not that that was the question, but, you know, kind of off topic there. But number 11, thoughts on natural horror films. That means horror films that actually involve animals causing havoc. You know, there's a really great, again, another indie horror film I got to put out there called Sting. It's either Stung or Sting. I have it in here somewhere. I'm not going to pull it out. It's called Stung or Sting. You can look it up. I think it's... Oh, I don't remember what year it came out, but it's a really good indie film to check out. It's got a lot of practical effects in it. A bunch of killer wasps, these huge killer wasps. Of course, they're bigger than normal. So, you know, that's definitely one to check out. In general, you know, again, I'm not like a major fan. You know, I thought Cujo was an okay film. I don't think personally it deserves to kind of be up, you know, with like Halloween and Friday the 13th. It was a good film. I'm sure it was a good book. I've never read the book by Stephen King, but it was a good movie, but not like, you know, one of the greatest movies of all time. But, you know, again, I've seen some. You know, again, I'm more into slasher films than kind of, again, stuff like Cujo. But yeah, I mean, any horror film I'm into, like, you know. So number 12, what's your favorite supernatural horror film? I think Blair Witch Project. You know, that it really freaked me out as a kid, having the tape and watching that scene where they're all in the tent at night, and all of a sudden all the hands start, you know, tapping and touching and going all over the tent. Like, that freaked me the hell out. It really did. I don't get scared by much, and never really did as a kid, watching horror films being by this kind of stuff, but that freaked me out. So, favorite supernatural horror film, The Blair Witch Project. Number 13, what do you think of the Candyman series? So that's another one that, you know, I've seen the first film, I've never seen the sequels. And which it's funny, they're right here, I own them. You know, I have Candyman from Scream Factory, the original standard 10A. I've got, which one is this? Farewell to the Flesh on Blu-ray. I've got Day of the Dead, and I've got the new Candyman on 4K. But I've never even seen the sequels. So I've seen the first one. Again, it's one of those films that it's a great film. Again, it's not one of my favorites or anything, but it's a great film. I need to see the sequels. I've been told to stay away from the 2 sequels, and I've heard really good word, I think, on the new one. So again, I own them, never seen them. Number 14. See any of the American Pie films? If so, what did you think of them? I remember seeing the first one way back in the day, early 2000s. I think my cousin was watching it. Yeah, it might have been a DVD. I don't remember. But it's one of those things where, again, I'm not really into comedy films, you know, and I don't own a lot of comedy films. If you happen to see, I did a whole Blu-ray tour, you know, collection tour. I don't own a lot of comedy films, so I've seen the film. I'm not really big into the series, not really big into comedy films to begin with, but I do enjoy a laugh every once in a while, so, you know, I'm definitely not against comedy or anything. Number 15, spiders or snakes, sharks or orcas? Again, I own snakes. I own a California king snake, a western hognose, western ribbon snake, and a nice fire morph corn snake. Very beautiful snake. So I love snakes. I also own a leopard gecko, own a little tank of European and Chinese firebelly toads. I used to go out all the time catching snakes, frogs, turtles, lizards, put them in a little 10-gallon tank. So I'm definitely not afraid of reptiles. If I had to choose between spiders or snakes, easily snakes. Sharks or orcas? You know, I love sharks. I grew up on the East Coast. In 2001, the family moved from here, currently in Indiana, which I'm now back to living, to Virginia Beach, Virginia. The very first year we moved there, it was before we moved there, but it was 2001, there was actually a shark attack where a kid got bit. So that was very interesting to know that, and then going into the ocean. So yeah, actually where I'm from, again, it was technically before I moved there, before I came, but there was actually a shark attack on the beach that I would go to for 10 years. So I've always kind of been interested in sharks, and killer whales are cool, but sharks definitely take the cake there. Number 16, pool water or open water. And again, back to I grew up on the beach. I grew up on the Atlantic Ocean. We also had the Chesapeake Bay. Every once in a while, you'd have the jellyfish migrations. You couldn't really swim. They would wash up by the hundreds. But if I had to choose, I would choose a pool. You have less risk. There's no sharks. There's no jellyfish. I remember one time walking, I was about this high in the water, and all of a sudden I started feeling something. I went down and grabbed it, and there was this, big lobster or crab of some sort that was down there, and I was like, oh shit, and threw it. You could step on things in there. Like it's kind of scary actually. So in a pool, I know that it's a couple of feet deep. There's nothing in there. I'm not going to drown. I know how to swim. Much better in a pool than the ocean with a whole bunch of waves coming around. I choose the pool. Do you like the 80s? I think it was the best time, the best decade of the 1900s. The best music, the best fashion, the best movies. I'm going to avoid the politics, but I was almost going to say we had Reagan. Okay. But, I think the 80s literally was the best decade of the 1900s. Do you like action movies? If so, what is your favorite action movie? Marked for Death. Steven Seagal. I know people don't like Steven Seagal. It was one of his earlier films. Him going against Screwface, the Jamaican posse. I actually really happen to like that one. I used to have it on VHS tape, then went to the DVD, and of course now I got the Blu-ray here. It was one of those that me and my friends could pop in and we'd have a really good time. It was from 1990 against Steven Seagal and Marked for Death. Number 19, what thoughts on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Again, as a kid growing up, I watched the original 3 films. I know since that there's a couple of animated films. I've never seen those. I know there was a CGI remake recently within the last couple of years, I think. Never seen those. The original films are where it's at. It doesn't really interest me to see an animated CGI film of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. To me, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are guys in costumes, live action. I think it ruins the fun to the films. And last but not least, number 20. What did you think of Michael Jackson's Thriller, the video, of course? I liked it. Kind of going off topic, but I'm from Indiana. Michael Jackson was from Indiana. I've actually been to his childhood home in Gary, Indiana. I recommend anybody who's interested in music or pop culture, to go check out Michael Jackson's childhood home in Gary, Indiana. It was actually really fun. I like his music. I can still do a lot of those bass lines. Thriller, I can still do. I can remember the chords. Again, of course, I play synthesizer. So, like Bad, I could do the bass line. Thriller, I could do. Trying to remember just off the top of my head some of the stuff I know I could do. But yeah, just in general, he was an icon. He was not only a music icon, a pop culture icon. I think in the music industry, he's missed. I really do. He might have been a weird guy. A lot of stuff, about him, you could make the argument for, but you can't disagree that he was very musically talented. So that was my Q&A, guys. Thank you to everybody who put in and sent in questions. Maybe towards the end of the year, I'll do another one. Maybe into next year. We'll see. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time.